Where do you get these containers from? Are they made for this purpose? Are they recycled? Are they sustainable? Where do you get
Good question. So this is another aspect of Guam that is unique. We have a lot of imports. We don't have a lot of exports.
Okay.
So we have a lot of containers coming to the island full, leaving empty.
Right.
And so at Smithbridge, we bring in a lot of construction materials and a lot of building materials. And so what we've done over the course of maybe 5 or 6 years is what you can do is if you buy the container offshore, fill it, and bring it here, we save some costs in terms of shipping. You pay more for the container overall, but you do have that inventory item, or you have that raw material that will turn into a fixed asset eventually. So we bring them in. We bring in, whether it be building materials for our concrete division or our quarry division, whatever it is we're bringing into the island, we normally buy the container and hold it here for the purpose of converting it into these buildings.
Okay. How long have you been doing that for?
Probably 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
And so it's a one-time use container. Mm-hmm. So it'll be built offshore and used once for when we bring it to Guam, and then it stays on Guam.
Is that a common thing, one-time use containers, or is that specific for this methodology?
If you buy your own containers, yeah. Mm-hmm. If you buy your own containers, then you'll normally buy new or gently used.
I see.
And gently used is usually just one-time use.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of beat-up containers because that's the other element of this. Containers can take a beating. But with our manufacturing process, we are very much aware of the corrosive effects of the island and what that has on steel. So we've definitely built in, we want newer containers that have better coatings, and then we'll, once we've finished our process, recoat the entire container to keep the elements out.
And if you hear the noise here, it's because they're recoating a container outside. I apologize for that. But where we are using those structures, but do they have anything hazardous that we need to make note of or anything in there?
The containers?
Like in the insulation or like lead or any?
Oh, good point. So the insulation, as I said before, is this rock wool. And so, no, I mean, fiberglass does have some long-term effects, and that's why we're not using fiberglass anymore in the construction industry for the most part. This rock wool doesn't have any sort of bad impact on humans. The paints that we're using and the coatings that we're using are, generally safe. No lead, no any of that. I mean, it's just a steel structure.
No asbestos, right? And generally they're
mean, this is all newer materials, modern materials that are made for human use and all that stuff.
Got it. Tell me about where you see the housing market going on Guam in the next 5 years.
That's a good question. I see it slowly developing as it ever was. I hope that this design can be a step change in how people view construction of residences. We find that building costs are only going one direction. I can't see many other things that are going to really change that. And so the higher the building costs, the older, more conventional methods of construction are just going to lead to slow and steady growth. I mean, there's still going to be new homes that are going to be built, but nothing compared to what we need to fundamentally change the supply of cost-effective and readily accessible housing for the people who need it most. You probably know more than I do, but most of the new builds are going to be made for a certain segment of the population, and those are the people that can afford the high cost of construction.
Yes,
which is great. I mean, they deserve all the things that they can build, but that's not our market. That's not our target. We're looking to provide a solution to the people that are just those first-time home buyers, those people in those first or second jobs that are trying to sort of start out on this island.
Right, and that's kind of what we're looking at a lot is the missing middle, as they say.
Correct.
Right? And that's, people whose total housing costs, including utilities, doesn't exceed $2,000, right? And I don't know any place that exists here, unless you own cash or you've built some equity. Or
Not yet.
Not yet. Not until you bring your solution. And so for me, that solution is more palatable than a lot of the other rapid build and rapid deployment solutions that I've seen, because people have been living in container homes here for years, been using them as offices. It's a cottage, and it's something people are familiar with, and we've seen them through the storms, and we've seen them tip and do those things, but generally they're pretty...
And the innovation that we're trying to bring to it is a lot of those container buildings that you see around the island were purpose-built, and were kind of one-off. And they're normally, if they're done well, they're done really well. We just want to be able to take that one-off concept and take it into that assembly line sort of Model T concept. The other concept that I've seen is there are container buildings that are manufactured offshore and brought in. And I think we could use more of them. What they do lack is durability. And what they do lack is usually, remember that panel that I was saying that we put inside of the steel? They usually take the steel out, and it's just the panel.
Okay.
So again, you lose a lot of that typhoon proofing when you take the steel off.
So these are one pieces too. These aren't the kind that you see where the walls fold in and it's stackable, is it?
Yeah, that's actually a great concept for what I would consider very temporary housing.
I see.
But one element that you might have heard me say is we want to build buildings that last. And so those foldable sides, again, that's that panel, not steel. And so the panel will deteriorate quite rapidly. I would say that has a useful life of maybe 5 years.
So Timu Smithbridge.
Yeah. And no knocking what Timu's doing. There's a time and a place for it, but it's just temporary. But we're trying to provide some permanent alternatives to housing.
Got it. So with that, what do you think are some of the regulatory obstacles that may be in the way for you to move this product forward?
So the good and the bad thing is we're treading into unknown space. So we're hoping that we can front foot it and let people know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and all the safety precautions that we're putting into it. We've been building buildings for a very long time.
Sure.
And so we know that there'll be the agencies that want to ask the questions that they need to protect the public, and that's what good government looks like.
Yes.
And so we haven't had the full conversations, but we're ready for them, or we will be ready for them, and we'll welcome them. What type of building permits we need for this? It's a little bit of a new concept. Look, the concept of a prefabricated housing development exists within the United States law, right? And so quite honestly, we'll have to go to, something that's happening in Hawaii or California and lift and shift a couple of those rules and regs just to make sure that developers stay within the bounds. But you've seen prefabricated homes across the United States, and the regulatory hurdles are not high. It's probably just needs to be addressed eventually.
Yeah, and in one of our earlier podcasts, we were talking to the chairman of the Guam Chamber, Teo, and he was talking about pre-approved plans. So I would think something like that, okay, I have a 4-high, yay wide, Hoffa home or, Biba or whatever.
An off-the-shelf permit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like it's already pre-approved. We know what it is. We know the product. We know the builder. So all you need to do is just find the site, engineer the site to receive the product, and you're good to go.
And something like this would be right in line with that, because the good thing is it's going to be repeatable. There's always a trade-off. The bad thing is for some customers, it's not going to be as customizable as they want. And eventually we may get there to a customizable, modular, prefabricated container building, but that's quite a ways down.
But that's more niche than you're looking for.
Correct.
I think, right?
Correct. And what we'll do is we'll probably share our knowledge with the folks that want to do that, because we're trying to build an ecosystem. Yeah. We know we're not the only builders on the island. If this is a proven model, we're more than willing to share our knowledge.
Yeah, someone can do the interiors better than you, right? And then add to your business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the good thing about the modularization is we can build it out to where they need. Mm-hmm. You know, do you want a shell? Okay, we just stop the manufacturing process at stage 6 rather than stage 10. Mm-hmm. And we say, there's your module, and go and fix the interior. We're trying to provide an interior that is livable and lovable in spaces that we would live in ourselves. So we're not trying to do, super low cost, kitschy stuff.
Okay.
I'm personally going up to these suppliers, and I'm, sleeping in the bed, and I'm using the sink, and I'm making sure that this is a place that I would want to live.
Right on. Cool, Clarke. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting to hear about these new technologies and solutions and all the things that go into in the exploratory issues and the regulatory issues, and also the intrepidness, I guess, to kind of like put that. I don't have a good word for that, but to put that foot forward, like you say. And
we're wayfinders.
There you go.
I can't really claim that, but my daughter's a wayfinder.
Microbial.
We're finding the way. We're bushwhacking. We're doing all that.
Okay.